Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Peter Barber. I am primarily a professional opera singer, music producer, and of course a bass vocalist. Today we're going to be checking out Cakra singing Tennessee Whiskey by Chris Stapleton. Truly one of my favorite songs, one of my favorite artists. He just did an absolutely incredible rendition of the national anthem for the Super Bowl. So Chris Stapleton, great person to cover. I think I heard that Cakra is more of a bass singer. Someone said, I think I got this in a comment, and someone said, someone more in your vocal range. This is a comment on my video for Marcelito Pomoy. So I'm really excited to see this. It's such a fantastic song. Whenever someone takes this on, there's a few things to look out for. One is the riff. Do they do the riff that Chris Stapleton does? Do they do their own thing with it? So I'm really interested to see what Cakra does with this and what he sounds like, just from the little bit that I've heard via the comments section. Guys, do please like this video. Please subscribe to my channel. Please leave a comment for the algorithm. It could be as simple as saying, hey Peter, or Cakra's awesome, or Chris Stapleton rules, or I love Tennessee whiskey. Doesn't matter, helps the algorithm. And my goal here with this channel really is to enhance your listening experience. I want to bring value to your musical world. I want you guys to hear things you've never heard before. I want you to learn things about the voice so you can appreciate these talented singers more. That's really my goal here. It's primarily to educate, secondarily to entertain. And if you do find yourself learning, if you find yourself enjoying the music more from my content, please do consider joining my Patreon for as little as $1 a month. The link is in the description below. And one more thing, this is a reaction and analysis, so you will be getting my first time viewing of this, and I will react to it as I naturally would. But I will be pausing a lot to talk primarily about vocal technique and other musical things, other artistry things that I feel are necessary to point out. But primarily the vocal technique, because that's where my expertise lies. So I try to stick to that as much as possible. Anyway, guys, without further ado, let's see what Cakra does with this absolutely timeless song, Tennessee Whiskey.
Never let your glass empty, ever.
This looks like a live performance.
I used to spend my nights out in a ballroom. Liquor was the only love I know.
Okay. All right. So, really cool voice. So much rasp. I was not expecting that amount of grit and rasp in his voice. And even though this is not the section where the big riff happens in the chorus, you can tell his voice is very agile, that it moves really well just on these little, what I call tasteful riffs that he's thrown in this first verse. Super, super, super accurate and super clean riffs. They're not sloppy, they're not muddy. You know, he's not sliding around. It's like each pitch in those riffs he's doing. And when I say riffs, I mean when someone sings a pitch and then kind of, what's the best way to explain this? Moves around the kind of original melody. So if you were to sing just, yeah, if you went, yeah, and just did some little movement around that pitch, that's riffing. Called coloratura in the opera world, the classical world, also called doing runs. All those are similar in meaning. And you can tell his voice is very good at it.
I used to spend my nights out in a ballroom.
Also, I always mention this when singers do it, and it seems like a lot of the singers I've been listening to lately have been doing it, which is great, is allowing a natural sine wave like vibrato to come in. And when I say sine wave, a sine wave is a sound wave produced by a synthesizer that is just totally clean, and the sound wave just looks like this, just very consistent. It sounds like boop. It's kind of what a sine wave sounds like. Actually, even that, because my vocal folds produced it, would be weird looking. But a sine wave is just a perfectly produced pitch, essentially. So when I say sine wave like vibrato, that means the vibrato is very consistent, both in how much it's wavering in pitch and the speed of it stays very consistent. So when a singer does that well, you know that they're they're connected to their breast support system and they're using the proper amount of breath and they're not forcing it here and they're not pressurizing it. It's just a very natural, seamless transition from your breast support system to the vocal folds, and the vocal folds are just doing their thing. You're not forcing anything. So it's always really nice to hear when singers can do that.
Used to spend my nights out in a ballroom.
Room. Just very consistent vibrato.
Liquor was the only love I know.
No. That's what I mean by those little tasteful riffs thrown in there. Just like a few notes here and there.
But when you rescue me from reaching for the bottom and drown me back from being too far gone.
Oh, yeah. Ooh. Go. Like that is just, and you know, a lot of those kinds of riffs you find that singers do in live performances are made up on the spot. Like if you can riff and you've been doing it enough to where it's kind of built into your technique, you can really trust yourself to riff on the spot and actually do accurate riffs that make sense and really used to better convey the emotions you're trying to express. So like this riff he just threw in at the end is just wonderful. It's like he could have just finished it on just a pitch, but instead adds this nice tasteful riff that really adds, I think, adds some class and adds some nuance to this performance.
From being too far gone.
And it's different from the original too.
You're smooth as Tennessee whiskey. You're sweet as strawberry wine.
All right, before we get there, also, not a bass, not a bass singer. I can't remember what the comment said exactly. It was kind of alluding that they were saying he was like a bass singer, but I could see how someone might think that because his voice is like darker and smokier and grittier. So even though he's singing in really tenor range right now, it almost sounds lower than it actually is. But not a bass from what I can tell. Let's just talk about the first part of this chorus before the mega riff happens.
You're sweet.
Sweet. There's a tiny little quick one there too at the end of that descending pattern.
You're sweet as strawberry wine. You're as warm as a glass of brandy.
Oh yeah. So that's the note for note the riff that Chris Stapleton does. Usually when people do this cover, they don't change that riff because it's a staple of Chris Stapleton's cover of this. So usually that's like you shouldn't be doing a cover of this song if you can't do that riff kind of thing. It's kind of like a rite of passage for this piece. And you'll know he's shifting his vowel positions around. So you're as warm. It's warm. I think the word is just warm, but you'll notice that Cakra is shifting his vowels around to kind of what's most comfortable for him, depending on where he is in that range. This is a common technique used, both shifting vowels and jaw movement to kind of accentuate certain pitches. Super, super common. I don't think it takes anything away from it. If you were doing this, if you were performing an operatic aria with a lot of coloratura, you would try to maintain you want to maintain the exact same color and positioning all the way up and down, just because that's how classical technique works. But in a non-classical setting, I think it's totally fine to experiment with the vowel positioning and really do whatever makes the riff most accurate and come out the best. So if for Cakra Khan that's a little bit of jaw movement, a little bit of vowel modification as he goes up and down, I think that's totally fine, and he sounds phenomenal on the riff. So like, who cares? So just so you guys know what to look for, think of him. He's just singing the word warm. You're as warm. So just think the word warm, and watch how much his mouth and vocal apparatus is moving just on that word. It'll just highlight the point I'm talking about.
You're as warm as a glass of brandy. Honey, I stay strong on your love all the time.
Nice.
And I look for love in all the simple places.
He's got such a cool voice, man. I really like his voice, and really fitting for a Chris Stapleton cover, because Chris Stapleton, as you guys know, has, one of those raspy, God, just unbelievably beautiful, gritty, raspy voices. So I think this is a really great cover for Chakra Khan to do.
Love in all the simple places. For the bottom of my bottle always dry.
This is definitely live. I don't know if it's like tuned or, it's all mixed afterwards to some extent, but like a live performance, and I've talked about this a lot on a lot of the live performances I've watched lately, is people with headphones in singing so accurately in pitch. It's really a hard thing to do, and they're making it look real easy. It's real. I've been really impressed by a lot of these singers that you guys have been recommending lately, like all the singers on the Wish Bus. Thoroughly enjoying.
For the bottom of my bottle always dry.
What are the words there? I live a love in all the same old places. Found the bottom of the bottles always dry. That's a great. Found the bottom of the bottles always dry. So I think he flubbed the words. I think he might have flubbed the words a little bit in this section. Maybe that's why they were laughing.
For the bottom of my bottle always
not
dry.
They were laughing at something else because he got the words right.
He's
having a good time.
for the bottom of my bottle always dry.
And I like hearing what he does differently than Chris Stapleton. Chris Stapleton on that riff goes, found the bottom of the bottles always dry. And Chakra does something totally different.
Bottom of my bottle always dry.
Dry. Yeah, just totally. I love it. Listen, cover songs I think are all about, unless you want to totally change the genre, are all about capturing the essence of the original while making it your own. So that's a great example of that. Like, this cover is very much structurally, melodically, harmonically, everything just like the original, but he's doing his own thing in various parts with the riffs and changing the rhythms of how he delivers the text and stuff like that. Which that's exactly it. Make it your own. Take the original, keep the essence, and then make it your own.
But when you pour out your heart, I didn't waste it. No, I won't. Yes.
See? Like that.
'Cause there's nothing like your love to get me high.
Whoa. Oh, that was a really cool, that was like a bluesy riff. There were a bunch of notes in there that weren't like in this key signature. And I love how he just shredded that high. I'm on the wrong part of the piano. So a high A, tenor high A there, with that grit. Love it. Let's figure out what happened in that riff though.
'Cause there's nothing like your love to get me high.
God, what the hell? That's so cool.
Me high.
Wow. So yeah, so this is A major. So normally we wouldn't get this E flat here is a tritone off from our tonic. So that's why it's one of the reasons that riff sounds out of place, but in a really interesting way. And I think it works nicely. Oh yeah. So overall, that second chorus very similar to the first, except now we have more instrumentation, you know, more drum action happening in the background, but vocally very similar, except for this final riff he does, and I love it. This is one of my favorite things. I was in an a cappella group in undergrad called Exit 245, actually a really good group. And there were some guys in the group that were so phenomenal at riffing. I mean, like world class at riffing. And they would do this thing where they would get to the end of a phrase and they'd be riffing towards the end of the phrase and they would just riff a split second longer than you would expect. Like right at the end when you're sure they're gonna end the riff, they do like a few more notes. And it's one of my favorite things in vocal music. And he does this here. So it's like right when the riff's gonna end, he adds a little bit more that he didn't do earlier. On this line here. Was it time? Those last two at the end, you don't expect, and he does it. All the time. Oh.
Let me introduce you, Raymond. Dizzy, yang pegang kamera, Yaya, dan Made yang menggitar.
They're doing a great job. And based on speaking voice, again, not a bass. Definitely not a bass. See if he does anything different here in the last chorus. Oh, yes. God. All right, up to a C sharp? Up to a tenor high C. That sounds full chest voice, full connected to that gritty high chest belting. That's what I'm talking about. He's not planning out every single pitch in that riff and then the transition into the second half of the chorus. No shot. He's feeling it in the moment. Maybe he does something similar, you know, in rehearsals or practicing, but I guarantee you part of this is ad-lib. It's whatever he's feeling in the moment. That's what you can do when you've got a lot of skill with riffing, and it's a wonderful thing, and you love to see it. Ooh. Changing the melody, okay. There's that bluesy. Wait. He did another bluesy riff there at the end. had to get a breath there before that last pitch.
Hey!
That was so good. That was just a really excellent cover of this song. Really like his voice. So accurate with pitch. So accurate and clean and tasteful with all the riffs he did. I loved all the tiny differences between this and the original. I think this is just a great example of what you want in a cover of something like Tennessee Whiskey. That's such a classic. Like, you don't want to hear Tennessee Whiskey done in another style. Like, do it how Chris Stapleton does it. It's perfect that way, and just make it your own. Guys, let's make a deal. If you learned something about vocal technique or about this song, subscribe. Right now, hit that subscribe button. And if I really added a lot of value to your listening experience, if you can now go forward for this song and other songs like it and enjoy them more because of this commentary, join my Patreon. Right now, for as little as $1 a month, it's the best possible way to support me as a creator, artist, educator, all of the above. By far, no question, the best way to support me. And other than that, guys, I really hope you enjoy this, and throw any suggestions you have for more Cakra music. I really enjoy this. Really phenomenal singer. So thanks for the suggestion, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.